Despite the fact that Emma Thompson voices in Treasure Planet, and I'm a big fan of animation, I never got round to seeing this film until now, which is a huge disgrace because this film has been out for 20 years now. This was released in 2002. It's directed by Ron Clements and John Musker, written by Clements and Musker, of course based on Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island. I've read a lot of Stevenson's work, but I've never read Treasure Island. It never really appealed to me. And I think that's why I never got around to watching Treasure Planet, because the idea of Treasure Island in space, I'm sure it's got a wide audience, but for me it never appealed. But actually, having now watched it, I can say it's pretty decent. The animation is lovely. There's one moment right at the beginning that completely blew me away. Although it does kind of mix more traditional animation with CGI, and sometimes it's a little bit jarring when you go back and forth between the two. But the scene at the very beginning, when the ship in space kind of almost comes out of the screen, or from the screen, travelling into the distance, and it's absolutely stunning, and I can only imagine how incredible that would have looked on the big screen. On my little laptop screen it looked amazing, on the big screen it would have looked phenomenal. But the rest of the animation is really nice as well, and I don't have any issues with it, although I know, having watched this and then read some other reviews, a lot of the critical reception at the time was that the animation and CGI mix didn't really work, and I can kind of see it is a little jarring, but generally I didn't find it a problem. I like that it starts off with Jim as a young boy, and we get to know who he is as a young boy and kind of what his young childlike imagination was like. And then when he is a teenager, he goes off on this adventure. And I'm not going to say too much about the adventure because I don't even want to tell you how it comes about, because I found that to be really exciting. I went in with zero knowledge, and that worked well for me. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the narrative was going to be like, apart from obviously the very, very basic outline. And I enjoyed not knowing, or not having any expectations, or not being able to predict what would happen. And it is quite unpredictable. I feel like the characters are really interesting and they're very well developed. Emma Thompson plays the captain. She is this kind of cat. She looks fantastic. And the design of the ship I really like. I think it works really well. The fact that Jim is made to work under the chef gives us a really good opportunity to interact with him as a potential antagonist. And I found that I started to like him as a character, and that's really difficult to deal with when he suspects that this individual may be an antagonist and may be problematic, but as a viewer you're kind of starting to like them, and even you can see Jim building up a rapport with him. It's really unpredictable as to where it goes and what's going to happen, and that aspect of it I really like. I think it's appeals to the whole family. There's a lot in it that I thought was very cleverly written, very well animated. There's humour for very young children. There's the language of flatula, I believe they called it. So there's a lot in this that I think can provide humour and entertainment to a whole family. So I really enjoyed it. It did drag a little bit once it got a little bit too sci-fi for my liking. But that's not the fault of the film. That's just what I like or what I don't like. I'm not the world's biggest sci-fi fan. I guess the main thing that needs to be addressed that I can't answer is how much of it is like Treasure Island, but just set in space. I've not actually read too much about that. If you do have an answer for that, please feel free to let me know. I did think maybe when I watched it I'd then be inspired to read Treasure Island and do the comparison, I guess, in reverse. I'm not actually inspired yet to do that, but if you are able to provide me with a pretty straightforward answer of whether it's just loosely based or if it is literally Treasure Island but in space, feel free to let me know. But I enjoyed it. I think it was worth the wait. It's not my favourite film. I may never watch it again, although that scene with the ship at the beginning, in fact I have watched that again because I after watching it I then showed a friend that scene because I was so blown away by it. So I will certainly watch elements of it again. Maybe not all of the way through, but I liked it. Let me know what you think. If you've been meaning to watch it but you've just never got round to it, it's definitely one that I would say should go to the top of your to watch list.